This just in first from Myanmar. We're hearing that an official from deposed leader Aung San Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy has died in custody. He was arrested late last night. For the very latest on this, let's go live to Philip Sherwell, the Asia correspondent for the Sunday Times. Philip, what more do we know about this arrest and death?
Well, his body has been returned to his family. They haven't, as far as we yet know, been given any sort of explanation for what happened. But what's very ominous here is that he's the second official from Aung San Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy who has been detained at night in recent days, and then their body being returned the next day. The indications here are that the military is really trying to sort of up the level of terror and pressure on all forms of opposition to this coup. Now, that involves detaining NLD officials. They've also been swooping in to try and to take away organisers of the civil disobedience movements, which is the strike protest. You know, last night we saw them corralling hundreds of young protesters in a particular area of Yangon that's been very prone to demonstrations, and those the military at one stage going house to house to detain people. They did back off after the international community issued a series of very strong warnings. And this is not just happening in Yangon. There's a southern city where 50 or 60 young people were sort of taken away yesterday who'd been involved in protests. Up in Mandalay, we were hearing reports of dozens of students who were involved in organising protests being detained. The death of this latest NLD official is sort of kind of also harking back to the awful old days of previous military dictatorships in Myanmar, when people would be taken away in the middle of the night and, maybe their families wouldn't hear anything of them, or their bodies would be returned like we've seen today. So it's another ratcheting up of the junta's attempts to put terror and intimidation into the opposition. No real sign that that's working at this stage.
Certainly, not only in regard to protests on the street, but also in the organization of politicians themselves. What are they doing on a political level to try and create some sort of opposition, some real opposition to the military?
Well, there is a committee that is representing sort of an underground parliament. They call it. They are representing MPs who should have been taking their place in the new parliament that was going to sit on February the 1st. Now, that was the morning pre-dawn that the junta staged its coup, precisely to stop those that parliament being formed, because the junta claims that the NLD's landslide victory in November elections was the result of voter fraud. These politicians are trying to establish a degree of credibility for the resistance, not only in terms of protesters, not only in terms of strikers, but in terms of political cohesion. They've named ministers to shadow portfolios. They've identified representatives on the international stage, and they're trying to say, or they are saying, we are the legitimate representatives of the people of Myanmar. Now, also, very importantly, a number of diplomats serving in very major overseas missions for Myanmar have been declaring their loyalty to this committee. The latest is the ambassador in Britain. That follows the ambassador at the United Nations and the diplomats in Washington and several other locations. All of these are veteran diplomats who served under previous military regimes. They've then served under Aung San Suu Kyi. They have said their loyalties are to Aung San Suu Kyi. So for this parliament in exile, these people are they're in hiding. They're in safe houses. If they were at home, they would be taken away as these other NLD officials have been. But they are sort of saying, we have organisation, we have support, and we have credibility. So, the junta has a problem on the streets, and it has a problem of trying to portray its legitimacy to international bodies when these MPs are declaring we are the representatives of the people of Myanmar.
Philip, thank you for that. Philip Sherwell there reporting for us from Bangkok.